call this special meeting of the Board of Selectmen to order Tuesday, February 11th, 2025. On Zoom. Let's see, we have a couple of guests in the season to talk about some budget. Our first business is, if you would please join me in our pledge of allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States. To the states. Okay, so this is a special meeting right into new business. 25-26 budget workshop review. Still concentrate on full capital budget. Representing the library. What's your name? And we have questions. So we have the full set of Jacksonville Local Library 25-26 PowerPoint slides, and then we have I've given the board your full budget and a copy of last year's budget comparison and your outline.
Slides. The first couple are pretty straightforward. They'll talk about who we are. It's kind of an outline of how we do capital. As you can see, we are above most libraries that we're similar to in terms of wealth and size, as well as the state average. Slide number 5 shows our library visits in 2014, because of the computer session as well, and also a chart for the past several years, the year just before COVID. Obviously, COVID visits are very low, but they've been slowly going back up and have surpassed the pre-COVID numbers. And these numbers are climbing as well. Very popular. Of a wait list. Usually between 5 and 20 people. We've had wait lists of up to 40 people. In a lot of programs, people do request that we repeat them, which sometimes we can if it's a program that doesn't cost a lot, but a lot of times if we have a presenter or supplies and things like that that cost money, we often cannot repeat them, even though there is a demand for it. One thing I didn't put on the slide that I'd like to mention is we did increase our summer hours this past summer. We added back Saturdays. We're now open Saturdays for 4 hours. We were able to do that without increasing the salary budget at all, in terms of numbers of hours. So there's that as well. Well, this was not a line item we're asking for an increase in. Ebooks, I just wanted to illustrate how the demand for ebooks is very much rising. It was really popular during COVID, and since then it's been increasing every year. But ebook pricing on slide 8, you'll see, is crazy expensive. Ebooks are way more expensive than print books. And compounded with that, many ebooks that we're not able to purchase them forever. We have to sort of lease them. They disappear after 2 years. So if there are titles that we want to keep in our collection beyond that 2-year period, we have to purchase it again at that super high price. So that's just to give you guys an idea of what libraries are facing these days in terms of budgeting and what we're spending money on. Slide 9 will show community support in terms of donations. Our annual giving campaign has been very successful. We are currently actually over 13,000 for that, and we budgeted, we were hoping to get around 9,000, so we're well ahead there. General donations and gifts, they just kind of come in here and there throughout the year. We are well over what we anticipated already, and it's just February. So those three categories are combined, even though it's in February, we're already ahead by 35.90. Good. Slide 10 highlights the increases we're asking for this year. The first column is the actual increase in terms of this year's budget. But because we had what we're sort of calling a surplus last year, our last year's budget came in about $12,500 less than we would have normally asked for. So at that time, we were actually asking for, we received $2,499 less than we had the prior year. So it looks like we're asking for about a 5.7, I believe, % increase this year, when if you factor all of this in, it's closer to about 2.7 compared to last year. Slide 11 just kind of illustrates, rising costs in libraries. I mentioned the budget situation, the minimum wage increase, and our programming costs continue to increase. I probably don't have to mention that our electric bill is much higher than usual. I'm sure everyone here understands that. And then just general costs of payroll and things has gone up slightly.
Questions?
Just a general question on the utilities and cleaning and the price increases. I remember Paul, a couple years ago, there was some other issue where you needed to change or do some.
We got a new cleaning company.
Yeah.
Went out for bid, they got a new cleaning.
Okay.
That was 2 years ago, maybe, right? Two.
Okay.
So is it still going up all the time, the cost of cleaning?
This year it went up, we got a letter from the cleaning company, they're raising their salaries for their staff because of the minimum wage increase. So general salaries have just gone up, I think, because of that, so a ripple effect.
I have a question on the ebooks. We find that the demands for them is increasing, or people good with that?
No, very much demand is increasing. Not everyone prefers ebooks, people still definitely read print books. But a lot of people are making that move. I think what happened was during COVID, everyone had to choose ebooks because they couldn't come to the library. So if they wanted to read something, they switched over to ebooks even if they hadn't been reading them before. So that year they were very high. Since then, it's fallen back down, but over the years, it's been increasing it's surpassed the pre-COVID numbers. So again, it's not for everyone. Some people read both, I read both. But a lot of people like them, especially for travel, people with low vision like that, because you can increase the font size really easily, things like that. So for a lot of people, it's a much preferred option.
I have a question about the ebooks too. So you say when you purchase the ebook, you get it for 2 years. Can two people read at the same time?
No, it's one person at a time.
And people get the ebook downloaded on there by themselves?
They do not keep it, no.
No,
So,
what I'm saying is, if I belong to a book club,
Mhm.
and in 2 weeks or a month, they're going to be reading Danielle Steele's Never Say Never.
Mhm.
And I happen to be on the Friends of Library, I kinda got an in, so I get the ebook from them first.
So,
Everybody else, can they purchase it on their own?
yes, any person can go to Amazon or something and purchase an ebook.
And how much is it for them?
It is cheaper than the library has to pay for it, but it is still much more expensive than a print book.
If they're
Even
more
for
expensive
Amazon.
than a print book
Oh,
now?
by far, yes.
Are they really?
Not every single title, but most
Oh,
commonly,
they
yes.
didn't used to.
Can people download it, can they download it and, share it with a friend?
That, you can't like send it to someone so that you both have a copy of it. You can lend your physical
Yeah.
Kindle to a friend, just like you would a print book, but you can't make a copy of it.
So if you get a private person pays less, how,
That's because we're not
the
selling.
publishers, because we're not buying ebooks from, say, Amazon. We have to use a specific publisher because they provide the platform that allows them to be circulated and borrowed by our patrons. And they know that we're libraries and we let lots of people read a book, so they are charging us a lot more than then they would charge an individual person.
There's a lot of nationwide litigation going on over this too. A lot of these companies are functioning as monopolies. And they're controlling the prices. This isn't unique to Saxton B. Little Library. This is an issue for every library everywhere across the country.
I know, it doesn't
Just
seem
out of,
fair.
Yeah.
do you pay more than retail for a hardcover book for a regular book?
No.
That is, that's
It's,
not.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Congressman Courtney, and see if you can
There's,
say something to
there's
President Trump.
Connecticut litigation and that like libraries in Connecticut are putting forward every year, and right now there hasn't been any change.
How many books do you purchase?
Oh. That's a good question. I don't have that number in front of me. It really, honestly, we're very limited. Most, a lot of the board members included have asked me to purchase more copies, more titles, and we just can't afford to do it because the budget is so limited, so we really have to be restricted in how much we can provide, and we're not really meeting the demand.
Now, you have, and we went over this last year with a couple of different personnel, and they explained it to us. You have unrestricted funds and restricted funds. And your restricted funds went up sizably. $18,000. But people donate and they tell you what you can spend it on,
Yes,
correct? That's restricted funds.
yes, exactly.
And none of that could pay for books. Technology, seems like technology is a
We
vast.
use as much as we
Spectrum.
can. There are a lot of patrons who donate in real time and say, I would like this money, these funds to be used immediately on these sorts of books, whether they be print, ebooks, or audio. There are individuals who donate either through a trust, a memorial fund, something along those lines, and those come with a lot of restrictions and guidelines. So they might say, use this for books, but there might be other qualifications such as you can only use interest and not principal, or you can use it, children's books, but not adult books, even though it's still going for books. So
Okay.
we try to use as much as possible in the ways that we're allowed to use them.
I thought you said something about fundraising. You're doing good this year, and yet fundraising has $0 in line 68. It's on the, yeah, it was 68. This is two. Huh? Page 2 of the.
It's 66,
I might have a different copy of this, yeah.
66, 900.
We have raised over $13,000 this year in our annual giving campaign. It might not be reflected on the document you have in hand, but that's what we've received. These documents might have been sent to you before December. Annual giving started in late December, and we're still continuing to get checks.
And so fundraising, general fundraising, can that be used for anything? Because you have it in the restricted area.
Some of it can be, the form we let people fill out lets them choose as a category if they want to, programming, books, etc. Many people do not choose a category, but some people do.
Chris, any questions too?
Yeah, sure.
Just question along the line of 39 and 40, just equipment and services and electronic services. What those entail.
Can I see your copy?
Yeah, you can
I
have
just wanna
mine.
make sure we're looking at the same document.
This is the newest one with the red, right? Yeah, 39 and 40.
So the library contribution, is that the donations, that column?
Which question?
The one.
Oh, wait,
Okay.
39 and 40, and then we'll come back to you.
Okay.
Limited services. So equipment and services, that is. I believe that's like what we paid for our catalog, the system that keeps patron records in place and the book records in place, so when we circulate books, that's where all that data is kept.
Okay. And then electronics.
I'm
service.
Because last year you paid $2,200 for equipment and services. This year it's $13,700.
I'm not sure why those two numbers are broken up, to be honest.
And then total computer services and equipment, you went up another $9,000. No,
What's, just to understand how you've done this, what's the designated dollars? You got the proposed budget amount and designated dollars and library contribution. I'm just trying to understand.
Those are the donations that we have in our interest accounts.
Okay, so the library contributions is,
That would be what we spend from the town grant.
oh, okay, so the designated dollars is,
That's from the donors we've gotten over the years that have donated large
Okay.
sums of money to the library. And they're in our interest accounts.
So I just have a follow-up question to electronic services, and maybe this is part of question for Bev or Mark. From a cybersecurity perspective, are they part of our cyber team and audit? No. So how is your budget cover any like cyber protection or any types of technologies to make sure that patron all those records are relatively safe?
Well, we do purchase through a company, it's called Og Graphics, and they do give us, they provide us with the software that keeps all those records, and they keep it safe.
Oh.
And in terms of personal computers and things, we have antivirus software and things like that on those.
you had a program. I must say, my wife was on the waiting list. I'm just saying, but she was like number 40 on the list, so
Yeah.
I told her, you're not getting in, I got no pull. Some psychic,
Mhm.
do we charge for those?
Do we charge the patrons?
Yeah.
No, everything is free.
Well, it's not free.
Well, it's free to the community.
Okay. What did we pay for that?
Do charge for things, they consider it a fundraiser, so that, for example, you would get an author or a psychic or somebody, and you would say, this is a fundraiser for the library, and you could charge that way to offset the costs.
Can I ask
It's
what that,
about raising money, not paying for the psychic.
okay, can I ask what, the charge was for that psychic?
I believe that was, I want to say $200.
Really? Can you get him back again, him or her? I should have known that if I had psychic. If we could, move it to the school. Let me know when.
Yeah.
No,
No, that one was really very popular, I was.
Yes, I know.
Impressed by that.
We're the easy part, 5-pack is gonna look at this.
Okay.
And the fact that you had a surplus last year and you were able to purchase some things.
Mhm.
You're gonna have to be ready, because I'll tell you, you want $50,000 more than we gave you last year because of what you talk about, the surplus, that you bought some supplies and
Mhm.
some of these numbers are a jump, 12,000 to 20,000, $9,000 additional. Total administrative is going up 8,000. Yeah,
Well, I will just repeat that the surplus was due to the fact that there was no library director for 3 months. And this was before my time, of course, but it wasn't due to, we cut some savings and things like that, it was because there was no library director.
I understand.
Okay.
I do.
And so it does look like a big jump in a lot of areas, and we did use a lot of that surplus to pay forward for the next year. For instance, we paid for a whole year's insurance ahead of time and things of that nature. So it does look like a big, but if we were to break down where we spent that surplus, that percentage increase from fiscal year 23-24, 24-25, and what we're asking for 25-26 isn't inconsistent with what we've asked before.
Okay, I would ask that you might want to be ready for 5-pack and have that put together, because I will tell you, this is, I've been sitting in this office in different capacities for 17 years, and this is the worst year for our economy as a town. So they're gonna have some questions, all right?
Well,
So
we can certainly provide maybe a slide breakdown or something.
I can, yeah. And I would ask if there's anywhere we can trim on this. Take a look at it. I understand wants and needs and stuff, and it's. Many of the departments that come here, they come here for the needs. Okay, I'm talking to the fire department and the ambulance corps next, it's the needs.
Mhm.
The library and for what they want for their people, patrons who walk through the door, we understand it. But we're in a very tough time. I always love the visitors, 24,000. If I go in the library, I go over there because it's still, it's the quietest place in town. Sometimes it's gotta be a little rough over there after school sometimes.
Sometimes, story time mornings are not quiet.
Any other questions?
Just a suggestion. I don't know if you can, incorporate last year's into this year so you can compare easier. It would be helpful. I think you would find that. FICAC would definitely appreciate that.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm hopping back and forth, and it's just a little difficult. I like to see the differences. So,
Do you think it would be helpful if we did the last 2 fiscal years and propose next fiscal year, so we could kind of show what happened with the surplus and not having the library director see all 3 sets of numbers?
I mean, if you look at how Bev sets up all our budgets, she gives us a really good idea.
Okay.
She'll go back 2 years and then
Yeah,
not
and
really
we get-
project it
just-
for the next year because it's a fluid, very fluid thing, but she'll go back 2 years and it's what was proposed, what was appropriated, what was spent
Yeah,
in a true budget, what happened.
for each
So,
line item, 'cause
you
it's
can-
always confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that.
so, and I'm sorry, we probably just added some words to show them what you do. I apologize. So,
That's
But-
okay.
You can even send us an example.
Yeah. Or I can come over and show you what I have. No big deal.
Chris,
I'll get out of the office.
Any-
It's a nice little one.
Bev, any updates from the insurance as far as better
Not so much.
quotes, or is it still looking full?
So margin's still staying steady at 12%.
Do we still use the same broker that kind of goes around your shop?
He does, but it's mostly because we have a contract with the state.
Yeah.
It's all mandated by the state and their claim history and, it's one of the best plans in the state, because it's basically a state employee plan, so. Right now, the last meeting, they're holding steady around 12%, and then we'll finalize everything next month. So,
Every year it's comes down, it starts.
but usually at the second one meeting, it's come down a little bit, and this time they said they're not ready to drop it, so. Yeah. Then based on the claim history and the region of the state. So usually we're usually in a good county, but I'm not sure we're gonna be lucky this year. But it would be the first time, I'll spread the word if I hear it drop. Half would be great.
anybody else?
Mm.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You want this back?
I have another thing. Next. Fire department.
Have to stand, I'm sorry, you normally just stand on the clock. Good evening, I'm Scott Haddad, Fire Chief. Homemade fire department, I just say, when we go to the library, pretty loud in there.
We appreciate that you come when it's loud.
Other than that, I'm sure it's quiet. Thank you for having us, just to go over our highlights, that was in the packet that was sent out to you guys. Total budget increase this year, we're asking for, it looks large, but when we break it down, the increase is 14%, which is $54,220. The grant increase from the town, what we're asking the town for is only an 8% increase, which is $18,000. we're covering the rest of the increase with our ambulance billing, our income that we make off the backs of each and every volunteer member that goes out at 2 o'clock in the morning. And so we're contributing $36,220 more to this year's budget than we did last year. With those funds. So the increases, electricity is going up as everybody sees, and again, the remuneration is, we're increasing that. We proposed $40,000. It comes to $46,120 with the added taxes that are gonna be in there for that increase. Right now, we offer $40,000 in remuneration to our members. That's if they meet the minimum criteria per quarter, certain amount of drills, certain amount of meetings, and calls, of course. They get put in that pool for that remuneration, they call it. We're looking to increase that, double that. Right now, the way it works out for the folks, the men and women of the department, to about $7 per call to get up and go and staff the ambulance and staff the fire trucks. We're just looking to increase that to $14, $15 per call.
Can I ask questions as we go along?
Of course.
Sometimes I forget, and I don't write fast enough. Do you think that will entice more members or more people who don't meet the criteria to get involved in the criteria?
Possibly, but I can't stand here and honestly say that money is gonna be the factor that gets people out of bed at night. Because it's a short-term, resolution to a long-term problem.
Okay.
I would like to think it would, but what it does is it's the best way to offer a little more money to the entire membership. Us as members, sorry about that. Jeff Lewis, of course, is here with me, as many of you know, Deputy Chief and President of our organization, and Kara Bowen, Lieutenant, and our Treasurer. So when I start misspeaking on the numbers, luckily Kara is here to correct me. So I just wanted to say thank you to them. But the best way to offer a little more money to everybody, the equal money, is to increase remuneration. We get small stipends for being chief, for being on the board. And we're not here looking for increases on any of that, just on the remuneration on the people that go out. Would it be great if we could get some of the younger members that we have, up in the middle of the night, and these different generations, their priorities are much different. Their work-life balance is a lot different than it is when we were coming up through it. So, but we have increased from last year. We were at 27 members. This year we're at 35 members. We had some new members in firefighter 1, firefighter class, and we have two that just graduated, and we have 2 new members in now down at Eastern Connecticut Fire School. So, and we're meeting all of the calls. I can sit here and pitch the fire department, but I know we meet all of our calls. We don't have other towns come in and take our ambulance calls. So, yes, sir.
What do you think was the cause of the increase? Was it recruiting or
Cause of the increase
in the people applying?
Word of mouth. We have a good young group of kids right now that unfortunately, keep going off to college and stuff,
Yeah.
but they've recruited for us. So, and we've had some recruiting drives down at the Maine Moose. We had a great night down there every year, 2 years in a row now. And we're increasing our presence on Facebook and things like that. But it's really word of mouth. When you keep your people happy, they'll do the recruiting for you.
Okay, thanks.
That's what we found, so. So that is the main operating budget. We do have, the capital budget is in there as well. Deputy Chief Lewis, if you have any questions on the capital budget, you can go over that. So I'm not doing all the talking. But I appreciate it, and, if there's any questions, we'll be here.
You want to explain capital?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's the big one.
Yeah.
So with the capital. And this year, we have out of the line. The SCBA, which as you know, SCBA have to replace every 20 years. The last 2 cycles, we've gotten lucky with federal grants. The first time FEMA paid for the whole thing. This time they paid about 60% and the town of Columbia had to pay up the rest. This isn't saying we're not gonna try to apply for another grant. But we need to start planning for it now because 20 years comes quick. And in 20 years, we'd be looking around $280,000 to replace what we have right now. Then again, I can't predict what the fleet looks like in 20 years. But as you look up the capital plan that, Bev, thank you for putting this together, this afternoon. A little bit more legible than we were operating before in the Excel document. Engine 205 is slated to be replaced in 28-29. We were only earmarking $800,000 for it. That truck currently to be replaced today is 1.2 million. Today is 1.2 million. If you go out to 28-29, puts it around 1.4. We're short, okay? So as a taxpayer, I'm on both sides of the coin here. So we're short. Talking with our board, talking with our chiefs, the plan would be not to replace it, take it all the way out to 2032. When engine 105 would come up for replacement at 1.6 million. Currently, on the docket to replace that, it was only like $900,000. So we're short, both sides, going forward if we played the original numbers going out. The plan is to not replace 205 and replace 105 with 205, and 105 is the 205, if you just follow the numbers and the way things flow here. So we would be actually down a truck, because it would be 2 for the price of 1, but we're gonna take that $800,000 in 28-29 and slide it up into the engine 105 fund. You increase engine 105 by 26,196 in 26-27, and you play that out to 2032, you get to 1.6. Okay? In looking at all the rest of the apparatus, so I went through and reevaluated post-COVID, all the increases. The squad now in 2047, this number will definitely be adjusted again, but it would be estimated around 1.7 million. So that wasn't what it was on the replacement value cost. Tanker 105 in 2033, it's gonna be about $800,000. It was only $500,000 sitting in there. So chose this year to increase it $25,000 from the $50,000 we were replacing it. Doing an increase of 25 this year, bringing it to 75 for 25-26, and then taking it to 80 the rest of the way out until we get to 30, 31, and then it goes up to 85. We just received $250,000 grant from the state of Connecticut, which the chief put together a new forestry for us. So that didn't come off the town. We were able to get a grant through the state, and was able to purchase one on our own. Again, past Chief Postemski got the grant, and Chief Haddad built the vehicle. We also were able to also get equipment with that, PPE, because the truck didn't come to fully 250, but we were able to purchase things with that, that we wouldn't been able to. Are there any questions on the apparatus on the upper side?
Just let me get this, because it is the third time I've heard this.
You got it.
Which is older, 105 or 205?
205 is the oldest.
Okay, so 205
Yep,
in 2032 is
Yep.
gonna go away.
yes,
205 goes away, engine 105 becomes 205,
correct.
and we're buying another engine, and we're gonna name it 105.
It'll be
Junior.
called 205 because we're not gonna relabel and,
Okay.
but I'm just trying to make it so
Yeah,
it flows, okay?
Okay, so that takes care of that, we're gonna move the funds that we were gonna replace 205
Yep,
up to
The
the
105.
105.
kitty,
Right,
correct,
excellent.
yep,
And then the other stuff, we're bumping up a little bit for tanker 105. And we put in a new line of 14,725 for self-contained breathing apparatus.
that's correct.
Anything else?
Not that I need to add, we thank you very much for contributing to this. We understand that things can get pushed out. This is a fluid document that every year we sit down, with Bev and we go through and we look and adjust. And we understand we have before, the old rescue truck got pushed off a year or two, because the town couldn't meet the needs back then. So we understand with this. We're just trying to paint a picture of where we have to be,
Okay,
right?
on the backside of this, you have the ambulances.
Yes,
That money will be there in 2020. This year, we're buying another ambulance, 605.
yeah, so this ambulance, 605 is actually late, because of COVID and all that. This ambulance will be 3 years old when we finally get it in May.
3 years since we ordered it.
Right, correct.
Really?
Yes,
3 years to get a new ambulance, yes.
Wow.
So you're supposed to get it in May,
yep,
okay? And then, in 2 years or 3 years, you'll put in another order for another one?
correct.
Okay, and that money is put aside by the ambulance calls, it pays for itself.
That is correct.
And then you use any surplus money, and that's where the $38,000 that you're gonna get.
Correct, and then also, it funds, in our budget, it funds part of our budget also
Right.
all the way down.
Well, I can't thank you enough. I know that, I remember somebody saying, we don't need that. We got a pickup truck. We can deliver people. And I said, are you getting up? Can they count on you at 2 o'clock in the morning? No. Thank you. So and I know, I speak for everybody in the town. It's like insurance. You pay, you pay, you pay. But unlike insurance, when we need you guys, you're always there.
Oh, yeah.
And that's, you got a great force and we do appreciate it.
I just, thank you. I just have a question, just general question about the 105 versus the 205, the engine. Sounds like it's a difference of capabilities between the 105 and 205.
It's just a number, it's just numbering, so.
Oh, okay.
Radio identification.
Okay, so it's not like the 205 is more capable and that's why you're gonna replace it with the new 205.
It's just 30 years old.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the engine 205 is a 1991.
That's an old.
Yes, but it's still
It still
operating,
works.
but for your ISO rating in town, for NFPA, your first line piece of apparatus has to be within 20 years.
Ah, okay.
So we have to keep.
I saw here that the town is paying $4,000 for a hydrant.
Yep.
Is that an existing one that has to be replaced? Is that like a drain,
Brand new.
a draw from a pond or something?
They're all draws from.
Is that because of the barn fire we had?
No, so that increase, there's one going down on Flanders River Road. It's gonna come off the brook. It's actually gonna be in Coventry and up to the road. Because we're having problems getting the permit for where we want it on the bridge. So we're working with Coventry. We're gonna go into Coventry a little bit. It'll be easier and we're gonna grab it from there. We also put another one in, down on Latham Hill Road this year. Had a very productive year putting in dry hydrants for us to be able to get water. And that makes it easier for the driver, where it could almost be single person operation. Where if he was by himself, he might have to get all the LDH hose, which is hard suction hose, off the truck, 30 feet of it, and try to connect, where we're bringing it right to the road. Within
Okay.
one
It's
line.
much more efficient.
Yep.
So that,
So the one in Coventry, you didn't have to, did you have to pull permits from deep or
Yes.
something? Cause you're coming off the river?
correct. So but Coventry was able to get it easier because the bridge.
The land we're putting it in Coventry is owned by Steve Harrington.
Yeah.
That helps too.
That helped too. So he was very gracious to, no problem. So we just had to pull the permits and it's easier to put it on that side of the bridge, which is in Coventry. So Coventry's paying a small portion of it as well, so.
And you have the new Hop River,
That actually is being redone.
oh, the placement was wrong?
The placement was wrong, the depth was wrong. So Coventry and Columbia are working together to fix that one because it just doesn't benefit us coming off that river.
Right.
In fact, it helps both towns, like we put one over on Parker Bridge Road on the Coventry side, because the Columbia side, there's really no way to get to the depth of that river where it's located. Coventry side was. So we've grown a relationship with Coventry to try to put water supply in on that 6 corridor for both of us.
That's a great idea.
We
Yeah,
know who the fire chief is over in Coventry. Y'all know, Mr.
Yeah,
Fredmeyer. We work well.
Did he smile?
Yeah.
Okay, just checking.
So I just want to say thank you to Chief Lewis for the capital budget report there, and obviously the increases in manufacturing, it's just going crazy for everything with these fire trucks that we're seeing being replaced. But the last thing on the capital budget, all the way down at the bottom, we have EMS and firefighter staffing projection. We just want to make sure that's not glanced over. On the back.
where's that?
Last page on the capital on the back. EMS and firefighter staffing projection. That is a projected price of what it would cost to have staffing in the firehouse.
Okay.
And that has been there as we have sat with the selectmen and the town administrator, and we keep moving that out every year. And we look forward to continuing to move that out every year and keep operating the same way we are, and we have been for 75 years. But I just want people to see that that is there when the time comes when town people do not want to get up anymore and do not want to answer the call. And we do have to put paid staffing in. The budget is going to go from, 280,000 to you're going to add 600, 650 or 700,000 right off the bat to that budget. So we're happy pushing it out as taxpayers, as Chief Lewis said. We don't want the increases as well, and we don't want our fire department to change into a paid service, anytime soon. We're doing our best to, like I said, answer all the calls. We have a great force, great group of people, and we're doing it. But I just don't want people to skim by that is there, and every year we come back, hopefully we're gonna tell you that it's, once again, we just keep pushing it out.
How many towns are covered strictly by volunteer fire departments?
Us in Andover. That
That's
don't
it?
have, that really, in our area, that do not have paid people in their firehouse during the day. That run an ambulance. There's some others like Bolton, but they don't have an ambulance. They use ambulance service in Manchester. But we've looked around, and everybody in Talon County, from Summers to Ellington, to Ashford, and Ashford is similar in size. They've had 2 paid people in there now for 10 years almost. Town like Wellington has had paid staff since the 70s. And they don't have volunteers, unfortunately, because once you go to the paid staff, the volunteers start to fade away.
And Lebanon pays their ambulance crew. So we don't pay our ambulance crew. When we talk about that money, we divide that up and we give it to everyone equally. Lebanon puts a paid EMT and a paid driver in their rig, to make sure they can staff it. And they run,
And they're doing good.
they're doing good. They run maybe 75 to 80 more calls than us through the year. But that's what they do to try to keep it staying. And for the most part, they are still volunteer, but they're paying. We're not. We're not saying, okay, Chief, you're getting $15 to drive, and Carrie, you're getting $25 to tech the call. We're not doing that.
It's even across the board.
It's even.
Anyways, I just wanted to point that out. Thank you very much for having us, and any more questions?
Thank you.
You guys are doing a great job.
Thank you.
You can volunteer to do. Excellent. DPW.
So Mark explained that he went over the operating budget last week with everyone. Are there any questions that you had on that? If not, I'll move it.
I can sit down with you.
Or I can just move right into capital.
Yeah, why don't we do that?
Okay, so we'll start, the first item in my capital is road resurfacing. I've asked for $595,000 to. We had the Beta Group come in and do a road evaluation, they worked with us in how best we could utilize the money and try different, treatments to save our good roads, keep our good roads good, and also repair some of the worst roads in town as well. But you don't wanna neglect a road that's still in good shape, because once it drops below a certain point, it's a full repair, and that's extremely costly. So a new item is the penetrating fog seal. And that's basically like a seal that takes a brittle asphalt and adds plywood to it.
Does that, how much life does that add to it?
If basically you have a maintenance curve for pavement or life cycle. And basically by doing something like this early on, it adds another 10 or 15 years to the life cycle. Before you're at complete failure, so it kind of bumps up the life cycle of the road. By doing preventative maintenance.
Then why is the penetrating fog seal? It's only on 1 year. Am I missing it?
You are, I didn't break out because basically what I did in the years following. I just put out a dollar amount and kind of broke that out. We're gonna fine tune that as we see, depending on roads and the amount of water and different things, some roads can age differently than the projected. So I don't like to project out too far exactly what it's going to do, because depending on the weather conditions for the year, it could change. A road that you think's gonna fail stays good because it has a dry base, and a wetter road could fail prematurely, so.
Okay,
Beth, how often are we going to have Beta update their evaluation of all roads?
They say the evaluation is good for 5 years, but what I will do, is consult with them on how best to utilize the funding that, you know, we're projecting for that year. So this year, when I knew about what I could spend and where I wanted to aim, I had the Beta group come and then an asphalt expert to come in as well and drive the roads, and give us, the one gentleman had 40 years experience in the field, so he could really pinpoint areas that we get the most bang for our buck.
this year paving and milling is $100,000. Is that really just a milling job for paving next year or what? Is that not a
No,
lot?
that's if you look on the form, the paving and milling, basically you mill out, it's on shorter segments of roads in Island Woods that for some reason have failed prematurely.
So that's the full depth reclamation?
Full depth, so you're milling out the entire asphalt surface and then repaving.
Okay.
And if you have to restore the base.
I had a question about the proposed roadway capital improvement plan. I see in the second page that Pine Street is crossed out. Why is that?
Only because, I felt like that was a hard ask to ask for $971,000. So we had to cut somewhere. And I just felt with the construction that's going to be done on Pine, if I had to push any road out, that would be the best one.
Okay, because it is deteriorating a bit up on, at least in my neck of the woods, Upper Pine Street.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's comparable to Hunt Road and also Johnson. It's just more. It's a longer road. We're gonna be, you know, performing construction. There's gonna be detours. There's gonna be weird traffic patterns, and if we had to push one out, that was my reasoning behind that.
Okay.
I have a question on the Beta group and the rubberized chip seal.
There are residents, there are a handful of residents that aren't happy with the process. So I had an outside that asphalt expert come look at it to see if it was typical. There are 2 large companies that perform that type of treatment in the state. And he said that the rubber that was put down and the amount of stone that is embedded is perfectly fine. He said what's happening is they possibly applied too much stone on top of the rubber, so none of that. It was excess, so it didn't bind in and it wasn't intended to, whether they had. They just put too much stone down, and when we swept it. They didn't sweep up enough, so there are residual stones, they came back out and swept again. And I think we solved that issue, it was just an excess of stone, it wasn't that the treatment failed or anything, it was just too much material put down.
So. So that's gonna be Johnson Road and Hunt Road is gonna get the rubberized chip seal.
But are you using a different company?
We're gonna try using, All States, which has been in the business a little longer, and they're known to be, if you had to pick the better of the two. It's the same exact process, they just have more experience. We weren't able with the time constraints to use them the last time.
All right, I just have a question with the. I do recall that we all sat here, you talked about the rubberized chip seal and stuff, and you said. It's for roads that are not heavily traveled, more like cul-de-sacs, which will add life to them. I look at these roads and
No, I didn't say less traveled, I said I wanted to try. Last go around, I tried Egerton, which is heavily traveled, Zegda, which is a medium traveled road, and a cul-de-sac. To see if the amount of travel deteriorated one road use over the other.
okay,
So I wanted to see if it, such a, if we noted that Egerton, because it's highly trafficked. If it gets a lot of truck traffic, a lot of delivery trucks, if we started seeing delamination and sections being, worn out. That it wouldn't be a good candidate, but we haven't seen that, on any of the roads, so
Okay.
it really is applicable in every situation.
okay. Can you do me a favor? When you bring this to, if it comes, when it goes before 5-pack and stuff, cause I'll have a question for you. What would it cost to pave those roads? If this rubberized chip seal never came to be? Okay, all right, and then, the 379, that's a big jump from the 100 and something we did this last summer. What did we do, 200,000?
200,000.
For 200,000, so you're doubling that, $400,000. And that is that. Are you pretty confident that they're gonna be able to, attain that amount of?
As far as having a
Having it
yes.
done, okay,
I'm confident. You actually, the more you do, the higher you are on,
the better deal you get,
yes.
right, I understand that, but.
And the more likelihood a contractor will come into your town, they're just doing a short road, you're gonna get bumped down, and that's what happened. The first year. That we tried to get on the list for 100,000, and kept pushing us out.
And that's why we pushed to the next year.
Yeah.
Okay,
And we don't have to reset catch basins when you do the. like
We
the-
go in and we make sure any of the drainage, if it's starting, like we replace catch basin tops, we check the catch basin. We'll do any of the drainage repair leading up to it. We'll do any of the spot pavement improvements that need to get done if the edge of the road is crumbling, or if there's a major breakthrough in a section of road, we'll do that in-house.
And you're
Did
starting
that
to
before.
create an inventory of all of our drainage.
We've been working toward that.
With a new report card and a new scaling rating system.
thank you. Anybody have anything else, we can move to the next? But, thank you.
So the next, capital improvement is the culvert replacement repair. I sat down, we have a few large projects that everybody's aware of. So that has been taken out of what's proposed in this budget year and put down in a section that will be, I believe, bonded. It'll require short-term financing and bonding. So what I'm asking for in this budget year is to slip line 2 culverts that we knew needed to be replaced. We were able to speak with contractors and get a slip line price, and save the town considerable money. So that's what we have projected for this year.
Beth, can you explain what slip lining is?
So you leave, what's happening is in both locations, it's a corrugated metal pipe and the bottom of the pipe is rusted out. So in order to provide structural stability, they insert a pipe inside the existing culvert. And then they seal it with grout, any of the space in between the metal and the plastic pipe. So you're basically getting a new system without having to build end walls, without having to excavate the road and rebuild the roads, so. And it's a 50 to 100 year lifespan with this slip lining process.
But not all culverts are candidates, because as they get too big, deep ones, a free culvert, no longer a pipe, correct? Like on Pine, you could not slip line because it wasn't even big enough.
It's a very gray issue. Pine Street and Thompson, the design, basically those culverts were failing due to undersizing. So a slip line not gonna help with
It's gonna
that
make it worse.
situation.
Right.
So these candidates, both Old Willimantic Road and Chesborough, they're not failing because they're undersized, they're just failing because the pipe is deteriorated. So if it's a hydraulic issue, slip lining is not a possibility.
And then Beth ideally would like to have engineering services for Mock over Clark Brook and Edgerton Road culvert over Mock Brook. But the earlier we get those designed, the sooner we can start looking for grants and preparing eventually to replace both of those culverts. But my recommendation was to move that to next year, just because our numbers between the roads, we haven't talked about equipment yet, and these two slip lines are just have grown considerably due to the rain events that we're having now. So it's pushing us out a year, which puts us at more risk that eventually you could have a culvert fail if we keep having these big storms. But we almost lost Pine and Thompson Hill in previous storms.
I guess my question was, you know, do we need to do these others quicker, but it's just a guessing game based
So
on.
I'm talking to Bev too, we always have the opportunity, we're having a good year, we're being frugal, we have excess funds. We could always go to a town meeting and authorize some money to move from general fund.
Which is what we did for the Pine Street and Thompson Hill.
Right, we actually, that's how we did those.
It's all depending on weather.
I think we can stay flexible as we always do, and if we see an opportunity, we can get those in design. Because the quicker we have them designed, that gives us.
That's my concern. The design takes roughly a year. Between the design, the permitting can be anywhere from a year to 2 years. And really you can't apply, it seems like every grant that we've come across, they want more of a shovel-ready project that you're at least 50% through the design process. So by pushing this out, you're looking at not even replacing it for 2-3 years. At least.
Now, we were successful in Pine Street culvert in getting a state bridge grant, which is a 50-50 split. And we applied in Thompson Hill for a trip grant. And I'm optimistic, because there's only 8 towns that can apply for a trip grant, because you have to be a small rural town and you can't have gotten one, I think, in the previous years. So for the qualifications, we applied, there's 8 towns going for the trip money. And
And if we get that, that's an 80-20.
with
So the
us only
town's
pitching 20.
20%.
So that would mean instead of, the state would pay $1,400,000, we pay $360,000 on Thompson Hill. And then Doubleday is being designed right now. And when, that's going to be designed by spring of next year,
No, it'll be designed in the spring of this year.
and then this year, right?
Didn't get all the permits and all that.
Well, that's not as, that's more inland wetlands local.
Okay, gotcha.
Because it's not-
Waterway, there's no navigable water.
Right,
So the permitting isn't that involved.
so until it's designed, that 500,000 that's sitting out there is it's just an estimate.
5 million.
5 million. 5 million.
Right, that was an estimate from Barton and Judas when they first looked at it.
So as that design gets to be further along, we've asked for an earmark from Senator Austin through the state towards Doubleday. So she's put that earmark into the budget process. I don't know if that will be successful. And then our next step would be to possibly apply for a steep grant, but we're not far enough along this year really to apply for steep, but we could apply next year.
Correct.
So we're doing the engineering, or on all the other culverts that would be a question, and then just looking all the.
Right now, the engineering is underway for the Pine Street culvert for Thompson Hill and Doubleday. Pine Street and Thompson, they're about 75% through the design phase. So we're getting there.
We also had a meeting with bond council and with our municipal advisor. I recorded it, anybody's willing to watch it, if you like, we can get the link to you. They feel that based on the progress we're making with all 3 of these big projects and the HVAC, that we might be able to bond all of them together in one bond. We'd have to, once we know Doubleday, we'd have to create a bond authorization for the full amount that we'll need for everything, HVAC and these 3 big projects. The bond authorization doesn't expire, it sits out there, but the bond authorization will not be crystal clear like with HVAC, because we don't know exactly how much state and grant funding we can get. But the town would authorize those projects to go forward, minus the grant money or earmarks or any other sources of income we get to offset those projects. That'll stay fluid at the moment, which is why we separated those from the actual budget right now, because those really aren't gonna hit. We will have to, we're waiting for a response from that meeting to get a better feel for how much short-term financing we need to put in this budget to handle all these projects while we're still waiting to bond them.
Right, because we're projected to start construction on in April 2026, so that would be in this upcoming budget year.
So we would have to get that authorization done before April, but that required a referendum.
Hey, Beth, just as an experienced guess on your part. The Egerton Road Bridge over Mock Brook and the Mock Road over Clark's Brook. Comparative size to the one we had done on Putnam over at Mono Pond. Are they close in size to that, the box culvert there?
The Hunt Road box culvert's different because it's fed through a dam. a spillway. So the flows are more controlled. So I'm not sure hydraulically, I think both Edgerton and Mock are much larger. Because you have to design for hydraulically for a storm
And head walls would,
and
bigger head, yeah, okay. But
Because you
but
don't
under
have
the
a
road, the
control.
slip, the box culvert under the road would, that size could handle rains, no?
I believe the two that need to be done are larger than the Hunt Road
Alright,
culvert.
alright,
Next up is the capital account for preliminary costs and design estimates. Historically, we've always had $10,000 in there just in case, something comes up that is unexpected, there's a failure in drainage that we need to have an engineer look at. We do have a balance, so I've only requested $5,000 to bring that back up. Any questions on that? The next one is capital equipment. I requested I have here replacement cost for our 550. It not necessarily is replacing it. We have a crew of 6 now, so we do need a 6th plow truck to bring into our fleet. So that'll just be an additional 550. And then also I've requested a skid steer to do a lot of the work that is smaller in nature. Anytime we're doing grading or anything, it's less intrusive. The lake committee now has asked us every year to dredge the cove. We used the excavator last season, and we barely were able to get it in and out without sinking the machine. So we really need a smaller piece of equipment that'll do less damage.
And it's
that
on
type of
tracks,
work.
right?
It's on track. So that is that, and then a trailer that we would need to, the trailer, the skid steer.
Would you just use that, like, looks a small time during the year? I'm just wondering, would it be better to rent it rather than purchase? I'm just wondering how much you would use a skid steer.
My foreman is confident that we would use it. A lot of our subdivisions have detention basins as well. That haven't been maintained over the years. And instead of manually going in and clearing them out, our flail mower cannot go down. Some of them are steep, some of them are narrow to get back in the woods. It's something that we could use to maintain our drainage areas better than they have been.
Okay. So it would be used
Yes.
more than just for the lake. One time.
They're candy in the new room.
Yeah,
Right, and turn on a dime.
Sure is.
yeah.
So a question regarding, I don't know, we're gonna talk in next year's budget, but you've got replacement of 2014 international. How, I mean, do you pretty confident that can be replaced next year, or is that needing a lot of repairs now? I guess my question is, should we be looking at maybe replacing that this year and the items you have for this year, maybe next year, if the internationals repair or needs a lot of repairs? Is that something we should prioritize? that
Well, we
replacement?
have a new larger dump truck coming in the next couple of weeks. It's waiting to be painted. So we were able to get a new one this past year. We'll have a new one in March. I'm confident that the 2014 will be fine for another year. You know, anytime you're encountering a vehicle of that age, you're going to have repairs. We had issues with it this year. We had pressure leaks in the braking system that we repaired. the EGR valves, which is emission control, that had to be replaced, so we've had to do a lot of repairs this year just to keep it. You know, a viable part of our food, so I feel like the major. Issues have been dealt with.
So the other thing is, will we use it less when we get the new truck this spring?
Not the 2014, because we're technically replacing a 2010.
Okay, so
So
the other question is, have we ordered the 26-27 vehicle, because it took us 2 or 3 years to get the one?
that was COVID. Like that took 3 years because of COVID. This last vehicle we ordered in July and we're receiving in anytime now. So typically, if you order a truck in July, you'll get it in February, March. And it seems like we're back on track.
What are you talking about here?
I think we actually placed the order a little before July, because
I think as soon as the budget was approved, I think we placed it a few months earlier.
to get it
But
done.
what you're seeing now is about 6 to 8 months for a truck with that
Starting to
size.
get normal now.
It's no longer 2, 3 years.
I can't wait till that COVID, all that BS comes spewing out of somebody's file somewhere, how we all got
And the prices went up. because
jammed
of
around.
COVID.
I'm just telling you, somebody.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Pretty good time.
Okay,
So for the transfer station, equipment repairs, I requested 10,000. We did replace, 140-yard dumpster this year. And we'll need to replace another one this coming year, so that's what that money will go towards.
so we're gonna pave the transfer station area, or just repair it or pave it?
We're gonna repair, we keep kind of bumping that out every year.
Why don't we just make it gravel? Why don't we just make it gravel?
If you, a lot of slips and falls on gravel, it's hard to keep in the winter time. Gravel, clear of ice,
Okay,
really shouldn't. And for ease of cleaning and sweeping, it kind of needs to be paved.
okay.
Just for safety and cleanliness.
Just give everybody going there a full pair of golf shoes, so we can be cheaper.
Yeah. One fall will more than pay for the repairs.
You don't even have to go to the transfer station, you can go to the yard.
So the next capital item is right down Hop River. This is being kept open, we're holding the funds that are in it. I believe they're still waiting on some utility pole repair, replacement, movement, and, the final punch list.
We have a $24,000 balance. 25.
Okay,
The dam mitigation, and repair. We're requesting 0 on that. We were able to fix the gate for cheaper than we had anticipated. So there's a balance in that, which will be used for, the inspection that has to get done every 2 years.
the $40,000 balance?
It is
At the moment, what's the inspection cost back?
about 5,000.
So we'll still have some money we can transfer to another capital account. So we can, that'll help when we do the public council.
Isn't the inspection come up again?
It is this year. In 2025.
The inspection, 5 grand. Can you get a quote on that, Beth, just so we don't take too much if it comes out to be 8 grand?
Sure.
Thanks.
Hazardous tree removal. Initially, we've been requesting 100,000 every year. I've reduced it to 50. We still have an account balance. We'll use quite a bit of that in the spring. But again, I think the demand, is decreasing from what I've seen in my evaluations of the road. We've really kind of tackled the dead trees in our right of way, so we have a great deal on things.
And on trees, call me tomorrow. I think their feedback from both the town attorney and Kerma on the letter towards the homeowner where the fire department was concerned about a tree. So
Okay.
I have language will update that later.
That tree that fell on, Carswell? Last week, 2 weeks ago? Was that on our property? Did it come from a homeowner's property? Or
I
did it just,
believe it came from the wooded area.
just the wooded area? A big tree. I have a question on this. You have $106,000 in an account. You're asking for 50. You're gonna spend 156,000 this year?
I just would hate for. That's why I reduced it from 100 to 50. We had always been asking for 100.
But then you put 25 the years after that.
Right.
I guess we can do it and we'll just carry it over if we don't spend $156,000.
That's more what I was thinking. We'll address them as they come up. The spring is where we are very aggressive in the tree removal time, so. We probably will spend half of that in the spring.
Okay.
Mhm.
Is this contracted?
It's off of the state contract. We pay
We pay a company to come in and do it.
for it.
That gives them a list of trees to track down.
Okay.
Eversource on their own will do tree removals within town, but that's it there.
I hear they're not doing it anymore, right? They've
Well,
cut
they're
that-
not doing any on our request. Before, we could always work hand in hand with Eversource, and if it was above, you know,
Right,
a three-phase line or near a transformer, they were pretty accepting. But they have
They're not doing
completely
that.
rejected everything that I've asked for this year.
I hear they've cut their tree task force tremendously. Didn't they tell us that?
They told us they weren't doing any, they had expired their budget and they were not gonna add to it.
Yeah, cause they had promised me that they would remove certain trees on Lake Road. They tagged them, they spoke to the homeowners, and then they walked away.
Okay, so what you need to do, if you would, please. Send them an email.
Or I was sending it monthly, when are they going to be removed, and finally they responded, we have no money, they will not be removed.
Okay, so now what we do is, Eversource. The homeowner called us, or these are dangerously old and looking to fall and stuff. It was stated to us, you were going to take them down. The homeowners were met with by Eversource personnel, that they were going to take them down. At this point, we believe that you are responsible to take them down. You know, and if they
Their-
fall, we're gonna hold
Their
you accountable.
response is.
Sign the first selectman, okay? Their response is,
If they so choose to protect their infrastructure. They can, but they have no obligation as far as the safety. So if it's a tree that's in our right of way. Over a power line. And they won't remove it, it falls on the town, it's a liability because it's on our property. So they basically say they don't have to. It's if they so choose to protect their infrastructure.
I think they prefer to just replace the power line than to take down the trees.
They have no liability. So I guess their insurance must cover them. It's not technically their tree.
why did they technically tell us and the homeowner they'd take them down?
That I don't understand, and that's what I've asked them, I don't promise people things that you can't deliver on, because then it.
They've changed their philosophy, it sounds like, for some reason.
No. What they've changed is their profit margin.
Well,
You know,
they're
It's a
saying,
business to them, and I guess
yeah,
they'll
They've always cut the trees
Well,
down.
Well,
historically,
they still have an active, like they're required by Pura to maintain so many miles of road every year with
Yeah.
vegetation management. So they still are, but if it's falls outside of their. So let's say they have to do tree trimming
Right.
on this road every 10 years, if it falls outside of that, they're not gonna jump around, is what they're saying. Where before they used to.
Okay,
But that's everything that I have.
now also in this next section is a much more detailed accounting of each of the major culvert projects. A description and status of where we are in each project.
all right, so I'm gonna ask you a question.
Yeah.
You run a very good department, okay? I've met a lot of the guys, I talk to the guys, when I'm out riding around and stuff like that, I speak to Kyle often. I see the other guys, I say hello, I talk to them, I ask them how things are going and stuff. There's a lot of contracted stuff here. The paving, the trees, the engineering, all that stuff. Please know that I would like to make sure, that I understand what the projection is for Department of Public Works, what your projection of their workload or what projects they're going to be doing. Because I know we talked about off of Route 66 there, we closed on that shut property, cleaning that place up a little bit and other things, just, I was called about the summer mower again this year, and we thought about that. I told them, I don't know, if it comes up, I'll let you know. I just wanna work with you to make sure that we're covering all the fields, all the mowing, and we're cleaning up as much as we can, that, you know, when people ask me, I just answer for everything out there, what's this, what's this?
No, it seems like we are,
Visual in the eye of a lot of people, cause they drive around and they look at it. So, I know you guys do a great job, just keep us posted on, projects, future
yeah, 'cause
projects.
what's not in here is our operating budget, and that's where we're repairing catch basins, we're replacing them from to the sump up, we're doing cross pipes, we're doing drainage swales.
Yep.
So it's work that we're doing, but it's not in capital because it's in our operating budget, it's what we do day to day, we replace. Last year, our biggest projects were repairing catch basins. A lot of them were failing, so we repointed head walls to save head walls that are 50 years old, so they're constantly busy doing more of the maintenance type work than full-blown projects, because we don't have the staff to pull away
And also,
from
there's a
everything
lot
else
of
we
big,
do.
heavy equipment too. I
Right.
know that, up off of, Doubleday, the Bodett Terrace. We didn't have the machinery to be able to dig down far enough to fix that or change the piping there. I know they're doing, drainage and stuff, you don't see it off of there, but I'm just, I like it when you gave us that projected 6 month, what we're looking at doing and stuff. I like that, so if we can continue to do that, it'd be great,
Okay.
alright?
There you go.
So, how is Steve?
We're unsure.
Okay, we had an accident, a slip and fall. One of our workers got hurt the other night, in the snowstorm, or just before, and, so keep an eye.
He went for an MRI today, but
Oh, we did get in? Good,
Okay.
so we'll know more tomorrow,
well, hopefully.
hopefully.
You know, they said,
What's that?
Just
they
me.
did.
No,
Maybe.
We watched,
But-
but it doesn't look, it looks hard.
The good news is, and we talked about this years ago, I mean, having a plow or a backup plow driver and stuff like that, the good news is in her foresight and Kyle's also, they had 5 routes and they had 6 6 people who could plow, so we've been able to cover it. There's been an illness or an accident, so that's good. It's exactly what we wanted, not to have a fifth of the town unplowed or have people doing way too much. So it's been good. So, and we've had more storms this year, or we've had them out there more this year than a couple of
Last
years
year, I
past.
think we didn't have it very active.
Right, we're gonna have more stuff,
I know.
So,
yeah,
And rain,
a rain, and then ice, then it freezes.
Chris.
I got a question on, the millings themselves. I mean, do we repurpose and is there any revenue with?
but we,
We use it for parking lots.
Okay.
So one of the parking lots or two of the parking lots at Rec Park have a milling surface. The new Hop River Preserve, we had to put in a parking area and a road, so we reused it.
Okay.
So they're all at our yard, we screen them and then apply them. At this new shut property, that's what we use as the parking lot surface,
Okay,
Good.
so they get utilized,
you don't waste anything.
right?
anybody else? Very good, thank you, Beth.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you so much.
You look a lot better.
Purple dawn.
Right, the purple, the necklace.
So that's, what's on for next week?
That'll be, facilities, senior center and Elmer.
Can I ask the board to think about a couple of things? That's good. The lake, again, will be a large area of concern and some contention. And we can't seem to get a handle on having concrete rules and being able, and even if we do, being able to enforce them. I think that, we need to look at the, foremost, the health of the lake. That's number one. So that includes boat size, the gate,
Phosphorus. load.
phosphorus load and adding chemicals or adding natural things to help with the invasive species that we see, or the cyanobacteria, just know that, there probably be some real questions. And I'd like to have a game plan, and I honestly am at kind of loggerhead with, I don't know which direction to go with things like the gate and the boat size, engine size and stuff, so please put some thought to it. I know I sit here, but honestly,
Hydro is
fine.
spreading around Connecticut at light speed right now.
The other thing, everybody who comes through those doors and talks to us is going to ask for more. And more. And this, this is gonna be the year that's gonna test us. And test 5-pack and test the people of the town. I always find it amazing that we can pass our budget with 35 to 50 people in the town of
I know,
2,500 voting people on a $19 million budget, whatever it is. And that's, in other towns, they shoot it down every year after year after year. Well, this is our year that we really need to be on top of our game, as we always are. Really, this year could be tough. All right, so LMAC. Who else next week? Facilities
And senior.
and senior center.
The senior center facilities are hand in hand, mostly facilities.
Any questions? All right.
What's the roadside rock painting project coming along?
Well, you're taking them up one at a time. You could have asked. You could have asked.
I stopped myself, you know.
We're actually making a new stone wall at the beach.
All orange. Do you have any in front of your house? Orange ones?
Not yet, but I'm getting a lot of questions as to what's going on, so,
Don't they see him disappearing?
Oh, people.
under the snow.
Oh, yeah, they might be frozen in right now. Might have to wait for it to thaw.
Don't say that, they'll ask you about a piece of equipment. All right, anybody else need to make a comment? Excellent, so, we'll adjourn this meeting, this special meeting, I can't even see the clock, 8:51.
So thanks to
8:30.
Thanks to Jen and Beverly for all the help. Getting it to this point. If you wanna leave your blue binders, we'll keep updating them.
That'd be great.
Yeah,
And we'll always have an updated one if we make changes.
date on these, and they don't have dates, so you know if there's something additional that's needed. That's what it's like.
Okay.
You're free to mark on it, so.
For future ones. Yeah. Any
All right.
dates.
So you adjourn. Stop the voting. Good night, Ann.
State your name. Don't say goodnight, we'll make you state your name.
Oh,
Good night. Good night, everybody, and thank you for all your hard work. This is horrible.
We got it recorded. All right,
Pretty sure.
bye.
What'd she say?
I'll
She
ask
said
her.
good night.